I'm so glad you bring that up. You wrote about in the book, the people you keep around you kind of dictates your own end. People all say that you're the, sum of the five people around you, whether it's financial, your attitudes, everything. That's quite true.
Hmm.
And I will say, if you find yourself in that state of disease, despair, or anything, and you're finding it hard to, you look at your community and it has somehow become a very negative one of, your friends have all become jaded or telling you you're never going to get better. I
Yeah.
was sick too. I just need medication. It's just going to get worse, right?
Hmm.
I think this is where that idea of going back into something like religion or congregation or something, because
Hmm.
I know so many people that were in a place where they were hopeless and they found that through religion, right?
Yeah.
They found that
Yeah.
through the people. Even if you yourself have a hard time
Hmm.
being a truly religious person in the
Hmm.
beginning, and there are a lot of those people, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
just being around that and feeling the
Hmm.
love, because so
Hmm.
many of those religion, that's the foundation of it, right?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
positivity. It's
Yeah.
love. You go into a
Hmm.
church and you hear stories of inspiration and you
Hmm.
hear beautiful tales of
Hmm.
overcoming and miracles and everything.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
really important, even if you feel bad, to just go into that community. You might be scared. You might feel like you'd be ostracized. You likely won't. It's probably what you need to do. Because
Yeah.
I think you wrote that in here that, growth requires us to take a hard look at what is working and what is not.
Hmm.
And that hard look often means you have to do things you're not comfortable with. Do you have any personal stories of like where you were going through healing and it was just really tough to embrace something that you had to?
Yeah, I do. I remember, I think I took on too much and I learned that valuable lesson about how we were never created, especially as females, as the feminine, we were never created to go, 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 go. I used to buy into the whole boss babe thing,
Yeah.
independent, single, successful woman. And I'm not saying that's bad. I mean, you do you, right? But for me personally, I had taken on too much in that season and I was traveling and I had a full-time job ministering to people and I was not taking care of my own soul and
Mm,
spirit enough. And that plays into our health. And I don't ever want to get to that place again. Even with a demanding schedule now, I have to take those steps back. I have to do the things that fill me up still, which is great community. I don't think you need, lots and lots and lots of friends, but
yeah.
even if you've got that core who really know you and you can just be yourself and they're not going to judge you. And I think that is so important, Casper. We live in such a selfie, Instagram. I'm guilty. I'm trying to build my own, Instagram, but it's so self-focused. I
Yeah.
think healing comes when we get outside of inward looking, outside of ourselves, and start helping other people and being invested in your purpose, in your calling, in other people's lives. And I know for me, that was where the real switch,
Mm,
even in my healing, happened, was when I stopped focusing on, I never used my Lyme disease. That just didn't resonate with me. But, I'd say I'm experiencing health
hmm.
challenges. I'm experiencing the effects of being bit from, but looking outside of my own self and onto others is what really helped bring some of the breakthrough, for myself, and I think it's helped a lot of others that I know on this journey. And so that would be something that I would encourage people with. But yeah, I had to take a look at that season and how busy it is, and when I got my healing, I had to say no to some things,
Yeah.
and I couldn't do it all anymore. I can do volunteer maybe and do things in a certain way, but I can't tour and do that and do this. I'm gonna spread
Right.
myself too thin. Um, so learning to say no was a big
Yeah.
lesson for me in that season of healing and coming into health, and not being a people pleaser. I think I've noticed a pattern with people that deal with similar chronic illnesses as Lyme, whether it's Lyme or something else. We all tend to have a few similar patterns. I've just noticed
Mhm.
this. We're typically sensitive souls. We
Yes.
feel a lot. If you're a Christian, you're typically very in tune with God and the Lord and the
Hmm.
things of God. I've noticed we're typically very hard on ourselves for some
Mm,
reason. I've noticed that. I've also noticed we can be people pleasers, and we really want everyone to like us, and we want everyone to be happy and everyone to get along. And man, I had to let go of all of that and be okay with people not liking me, be
Mm,
okay with not being able to show up all the time for everybody. Those are some lessons. I've had to even work on that sensitivity and some emotional resilience and not letting every little thing hit me so hard, or take me
yeah.
out. So I think, the more you start pulling back this onion, this, we call it, the healing is not
Yep.
linear. There's the ups and the downs. The more you start pulling it back and doing some work, I call it, the more whole, the more free you really become. Who I am today versus who I was even prior to having experienced Lyme. I'm a different person because of what I've had to walk through in that journey, and I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I would encourage anyone listening today, maybe God's trying to get at some bigger things through disease. Let him do that. Let him work it for good in your life as well.
I definitely feel that that's a huge part of it when people say, like, how could you see any positivity in sickness or anything? I think it's just a calling for change. It's a calling to evolve to something higher. It's getting you so uncomfortable that you have no other choice but to stop, pause, and change, right? And through that change, healing, and then an evolution and, happiness and success can come then. But and what you said there was really interesting because we both spoken to so many Lyme patients, and I've spoken to so many patients, and there are patterns. Obviously, it doesn't mean, hey, you got to be sensitive or you can't get
Right.
Lyme. Like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's really interesting that there are patterns to these things, to different diseases. Even when you talk about, like, some I've talked to experts about, feeling entrapment is a lot of MS related, multiple sclerosis,
Wow.
and like all these things you could kind of link back to it. But it's very interesting that you're seeing that in yourself and others.